and stay tuned for the wonderful.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to my show with me, Andreia, on Dreamcatcher Radio, Beyond the Cover. And just to remind you all, this is my 10th episode today. So congratulate to me and everything that's happening so far. And thank you very much for everyone that is being with me since I begin the show. Now today I'm going to do something very different. In fact, I have a surprise in mind, which I thought in the last week that I could invite somebody that could tell about in the literature and the writing perspective. Someone that deals with the scripts and then also helps writers to go in their journey of the writing to be novelists. They will do an interview, but because the person couldn't didn't respond back, so she decided today, well, let's just chill out for today. And let's talk something else besides books, literature, and also writing. I'm going to focus on something that everyone has realized, but my music is being mostly on metal and goth music. And so because of that, I decided that today, that this week, I'm not going to touch on literature, books, and writing. But let's just at least talk about some misconceptions, myths, misunderstandings about goths and metalheads. Because even though today it's not so aggressive when it did start, and I mean, one study was, on that satanic panic thing that's just like, oh my god, we have this D&D stuff and kids are just playing D&D, wizards, oh my god, magic, the kind of stuff which is absolutely ridiculous. Even though today is less aggressive, it's still that misunderstanding about. And I think I could do that since my music is generally metal on the goth genre. So today, I've seen the questions for this week. I didn't forget about them, but I decided I'm going to answer last week. So for that, we're going to let it pause today, just relax, and let's just listen a little bit about these misconceptions that I brought today. It's just an idea for us to see what's really going on. I'm going to say ahead that might have touched on mental illnesses because unfortunately there's misunderstanding, misconception about the surrounding. So keep that in mind as well. So my references for the YouTube specifically on the goths is going to be the names of Orphea, myths about the goth scenes, Angela Benedict. So your kid might be goth, we don't do drugs or worship Satan. And finally, Gothically Yours, Professor M, dispelling 11 myths about the goth subculture. So I try to get this information about these three YouTubers and just bring it up here to the show. So let's start. So one of the things that people might think is all goths are depressed or miserable. Short the bet, not true. In fact, this misconception has been for a very long time on the Holy Youth specifically. It's generally because if you really pay attention or look at it in a perspective, somebody that dresses differently from the norm, so to speak, if you look at the goths dress themselves, for me, is fascinating and absolutely amazing, like just spectacularly amazing. They have this very aesthetic, dark and mysterious and sometimes a little bit grotesque but it's just an aesthetically things appealing. And it might be because of that. And whatever they have, I don't know, pentagrams on them or crucifix and whatever, or inverted crucifix, whatever. They might have get the idea that they're not well, first of all. But mostly because they have this neutral expression in their faces. And then people might think, oh, this kid is just not well. Whereas in truth, in the contrary, ghosts are very happy people. People just need to see them in the right environment like everybody else. And because people don't find ghosts in their natural environment, they might have this, unfortunately, this misunderstanding. And because of this, they might think people are not well. Because I'm going to tell you that mental illness doesn't discriminate age, race, gender, subculture, affiliation, or make you no more less prone to suffer mental illness than anybody else. So, with this means is, just because somebody is in a goth subculture genre, they don't really have to have this. They don't have to look miserable. They're just very happy. They just present themselves to the world in a different perspective. And I think it's very important to demystify this concept. Now, another thing that people might think is, and this is really just absolutely to laugh, all gods wear black constantly. Well, in part, it is a truth, because black for them is like a symbolic meaning to them. So they wear black. But also ghosts can be very colorful as well. Because they do black with red, black with yellow, or green, or even pink, or even, red, purple, whatever. Just to give them a perspective, another subgenre of the goth, they have cyber goths, which they use fluorescence and ultraviolet colors. But they also have pastel goths, which is another part of the subculture, different part thing, I believe, but it's a pastel colors. And with that, we will pause here and are going to present a gothic metal band called Motionless in White Werewolf. Just enjoy the show. The music is absolutely amazing.
I can feel you, I can hear you howling in my bones. And there's an evil lurking in the dark. Ever-shifting skin is ripping as you take control. I can't tell where you end and where I start. A ferocious diagnosis under moonlit hands. Well, the man become the monster, or the monster become man. I could be up all night, but I'm paralyzed when the creature comes alive. 'Cause it's fight or fright in the full moonlight. You can run, but you can't hide. I can be honest, I can be human. I can become the silver bullet in your head. But no one can break my heart like I can. Werewolf. Bleed out from the bite marks and the bits are sweet. Smile for the camera, but don't flash your teeth. Let the bodies hit the dance floor to this heartbreak beat. I feel like somebody's watching me. Feels like everybody's watching me. Seductively destructive, we are true romancers. The man become the monster, or the monster become man. I can be up all night, but I'm paralyzed when the creature comes alive. 'Cause it's fight or fright in the full moonlight. You can run, but you can't hide. I can be honest, I can be human. I can become the silver bullet in your
And that was for you. This was for you. Werewolf by Motionless in White. Wow, what a very powerful song. It's just basically about being a werewolf. And if you've been noticed, I never touched about the lyrics today. That's why, because today I just thought we should just enjoy the music today. Let's just relax, have a moment to listen to some metal and goth music, and just not too concerned what the lyrics is about. Usually what I do is just tell you what the lyrics is about, at least the music in general, and then I grab a part of the lyrics and read it for you, just so you guys have an idea. So now, as we have seen, gods are not depressed and miserable. They're pretty happy people, and the gods, while they actually have black in their clothes. They can just mix with other colors. It is not here, no, because people have to pick things being very, very picky in their stuff. So, another misconception is that the gods must listen to only gothic music. Again, while it's on its core, they listen to gothic music, you may be surprised they actually in fact, like any other people, they actually listen to other types of music. And why? Because they listen to gothic music. This is just, of course, because it brings a sense of community. Because you might find that your goth friend might actually likes, for example, classic music or jazz, for example, or even, I don't know, trance music, for example, or techno. So just implying that only the goth is a complete another myth. And now this is the part that I think is very important to touch, because I might going to bring the metalheads with them as well. They share in common this as well. Now, this is to have the assumption that all gods and metalheads worship Satan, are Satanists, or they do weird religious things. Now, is it true that metalheads and gods can be Satanists? Yes. But because they did an adult decision that they want to do that. Because the majority you're going to find, not true entirely. Absolutely, you have to take that off with your head. No. In fact, many metalheads and gods can be Muslims, Jews, Christians. Yes, Christians, that's right. They can be atheists, agnostics, pagans, Wiccans, and the list goes on. So what this means is that in their core, there is no requirement for religious if you want to be a goth or even a metalhead. Because again, let's go back to the satanic panic. Oh my God, these people are wearing black. They dress what is not. Let's put in, this thing people say, the normal, because what is actually the normal, what it is, I don't know. Who come up with this idea is just nonsense to me. So this must be something we need to be feared of. And you're going to touch on something that H.P. Lovecraft said about that, because it's very interesting. It implies so well. And I'm going to tell you, because in some cases, these people have these beliefs, etc. And as I touched as well when I talked about the price of miserable, some gods may hear, for example, crucifix, or as in reasonable beings, because they might be Christian. Or if they a pentagram, it may be because they are Wiccan, in the Wiccan religion. Or an inverted pentagram could be the Satanist too, but it can also be black magic, for example. So this is all a spectrum on the goth community, which I think we should be more aware when we approach somebody. Because at the end of the day, we're just going to find out they're just, normal people, just want to live, go on with their lives. And I'm going to surprise you with this, because there is a specific Christian goth website, if you're curious to look up, which is the christiangoth.com, which I'm going to say what I found on YouTube from a YouTuber name, which is Angela Benefit. And she said that this is to finding the romantic melodic beauty in the darkness, embracing the night but shining all of which is evil. So imagine that you are Christian, but you also embrace your goth part. Not all powerful that will be. In fact, I actually know, I think his YouTuber called Random Goth Couple. And there's a short where the guy, which is all black and all, black pale and all these eyeliners, etc., is specifically puts on the shirt. This could be from their back in time, as keep us back in time. There is someone interview, and a guy just say, "I'm just using a wristbands because I just like it, and just just to make some people piss somebody off." And the guy, a YouTuber, says, "I wear this because Jesus is my homie." Now keep this in mind. He says, "Jesus is my homie." How powerful that could it be if you are Goth and a Christian? So go forward. If you find this is powerful, go forward. Just don't stop. And now for the next conception is, all Goths are white and have black hair. This is an assumption that is not true. Some, if perhaps not the majority of it, they dyed their black hair, but keep in mind it's all about aesthetics, what they like, or they express themselves in the world. You might find that they are Asian, black, blonde, Latino, etc. gods. Yes, they are black gods. So this is not just entitled to people. They all have, this pale, this pale painted or not skin color. It goes to all. So the God's honor goes to all of the entire world. And now this is the part we're going to have to talk about, because unfortunately some people just don't really understand, and because there's some misconception about it. We need to talk, and this also comes along with actually Goth is. Unfortunately, some people connect being Goth with drug use. Again, it's not entirely true. Because if somebody is experiencing illegal substances, it's mostly due to what's happening inside of their house. In fact, with family, etc. Because your subgenre does not have nothing else to do what this stuff is about. So, for example, if somebody isn't at this, it's the responsibility of the family to guide their child to the drug-free path. But the music, this is nothing to do with this. It's just art of expression. In fact, I haven't touched that. As we're talking about the drug here. We're talking about all Goths depressed and miserable, which I can conclude is not true. The thing is, it's mostly also because Goths are very open about this stuff. It's because they are so open. And about Christians, they are passionate and they are very expressive and creative. They're also very kind, gentle, and very reserved as well, which of the zombies reserved might think, oh, there's something wrong with this kid. But no. Goths are just like you. They're just trying to live their life. It's just different. And the last, not the last actually, because I've just talked about this too as well, is just Goths are prone to violent behavior. Again, not true. They are not. This is come with the person itself. In fact, if you think about it, because Goths are so differently dressed and they present themselves so different to other people, they might actually be the victims of that. And with, I will stop and I will present my last song, which is Army of the Night by Powerful Wolf. This, I know I have to say, it's a music about just religious groups going ready, psychologically ready to what? Non-mental heads and gods, raise your hands, or the home level hands, because we have to laugh about it, and just and back our heads, because this is powerful and this is awesome.
Stand up all the night and call the fight. Let your men go out before the light. Here we come, the army of the night. Mother Maria, line up side by side and bound to praise and to die and fight the final day. Army of the night, we came to say, Mother Maria.
Wow, what an amazing, amazing music by the Power Wolf, the Army of the Night. I really hope you have felt that energy to go forward and fight and absolutely give your best. There is an absolutely amazing group here. Now let's return to our misconception about cars, and I promise you, it is more true, and then we are done. Bless them. They're just doing their best to live their lives right now and just trying, to be like everybody else, to be decent human beings. But anyway, so cars not just wear white and black hair. They can be anybody can be a goth. If you're a black man, woman, or even a non-binary type, or even, on the weird spectrum, be goth, be you. Also, goth is not associated with drug use at all. And they are not prone to violence. In fact, they are very peaceful, very reserved, and also very creative and kind as well. So, the second last, it is a goth families will probably influence their kids. No, it's not true at all. Just because you are a goth parent and you have a kid, it does not mean your kid's going to be goth in the future. It would be very good if we have, let's say, that the Adam family, they have the kid, the case. That would be a very interesting way, but no. That is not what happens in real life. In real life, what happens is your kid might listen goth music, which is cool, but they find, you know what, I'm not into the subculture. I may prefer, I don't know, let's say rap or pop, and that's fine. Because what they try to do is being good parents. And they try to teach their kids to be good in a society. That's exactly what it is about. And then finally, goths will never have a stable job. Again, a misconception that absolutely Hollywood really loves to put in, and also in some parts of society as well, people. No, I'm going to surprise you, but no. Goths can have really stable jobs. In fact, let's say the carer that's taking care of your grandparent can be a goth. Or your daughter can be a goth. Or even your nurse can be goth. Or even architect, designer, plumber, whatever. They are everywhere. You just don't see them dressed as you think they will, because society has its norms and laws to go. Also the companies, in fact. And so because that, they understand that they have, to go through the law. And then also they want to be in a society and be in service to society. So they just there to provide what they have learned. So in summary, God just like to be like everybody else. They just have a different taste of music, a different taste how they present themselves to the world. And in my opinion, they rule. They are awesome. Keep going, girls. Absolutely love you. And now it's time for the metalheads. Well, what I have to say about my metalheads. Poor guys as well. So, my reference was go to Open in the Sky, which is a metal group I presented in my first episode, which is Impact the Gift. And they have a short about it says mental health myths, 5 mental health myths. Of course, I just decided to cut some because they'll go on the repeats, but I want to present you what they really say. Like gods, people might think that metal has worshipped Satan. Again, it's nonsense. Take it off of your head. It's not true. In fact, the majority of metalheads don't even believe in Satan or worship him. They just don't believe. They can, if they want, but they don't. Again, like us, they can maybe in a different religion, like everybody else. Another misconception is that metalheads are always angry. I don't know who came up with this stupid idea, but it's nonsense again. In fact, the genre metal is true, is aggressive, is accelerated, is fast-paced, but it's because it helps people to, let's say, have that cathartic moment of facing something they're facing in their lives. And instead of put the anger on others, they put on the music, and that transforms into something, like you being in therapy. Of course, it's not going to be like being in therapy. Keep in mind, if you need help, go to a therapist. But it's like you have to face something that you need, and because you're facing it in a very raw way or in a very aggressive way, you understand the message. And because you understand, you feel empowerful. You feel empowered. You don't feel aggressive. You feel, this is empowering. I can see myself in this. Hell yeah, let's go with this, yeah? So yes, metalheads are not always angry. In fact, they're very kind, gentle, and the happiest people as well. And if I have time today, we will listen to that about why metal makes people the happiest as well. Of course, happiest Keep in mind, this is because I'm talking about metal, etc. So this has to go along with the title of today's show. And another misconception is that metalheads always listen to metal music. Again, like Gothic, it's not true. Your metalhead has a vast selective music. They actually may like country music. They also may like jazz, for example, or pop, or rag, or whatever, So because because people are not in contact with metalheads, I believe, is because they don't really understand. And this comes to conclusion that they also listen metal. No, again, is absolutely not true. Now, many people might think the metalheads are stupid. Again, no. I think they believe in this because the metal is so aggressive, they probably have metal in your brain. And to be fair, this is absolutely nonsense. Because in reality, your metalhead friend is very intelligent, creative, and has verbal intelligence. In fact, this is scientifically studied. They say they are actually very intelligent. They're creative and verbal intelligent communication. So, again, like in the goth spectrum, you might find that your metalhead perhaps is the leader of a company, for example, or is a scientist or an architect, for example, or if again he might be on the care or on an NHS, for example. You will never know again because the rules of society, how the company imposes the laws, they understand they have to go. So they say, okay, we have an agreement here. I can, I'm never going to stop using my metal, but I'm going to serve my community. I'm going to serve my people because it's important and I actually care about others. And now, this is, of course, is not the myth, but I just had to put it because I think it's very hilarious. So some people, that metalheads handbang while listen metal. Well, it is true that I really like to handbang my metal, and Brad have saw me many times and probably have laughed many times and giggled as well. It's true, but not always. Not always. Metalheads might actually just shake hands, or just hand slightly their hands, or just completely still listen metal. It just depends who you are and how you like to listen your metal song. And now lastly, people think that metalheads greet each other with grunts and hand-banging hard. I'm laughing because this is... Well, I saw the short by the Opal in the Sky, which is still hilarious. The guys are just hilarious. You really need to follow them. They're just hilarious. Again, it's completely not true. In fact, no matter how friends, they might just say, "Hi, how you doing, mate? How is it going today? Oh, my day was absolutely this, blah, 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 blah." And this is how the misconceptions emit hands or follow gods and metalheads. Like, again, they're just amazing people. They're just here to serve the community and to help others. I'm going to quote from a P.H. Lovecraft that is very important here and sums up so well about these misconceptions. It goes like this. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear. And the oldest and strongest kind of fear is the fear of the unknown. So, this for me is so empowering because it just really shows that people do not understand metalheads, not gods at all. And because they do not understand them, they are fear what they see. And as someone who listens metal and goth music, if you are metalhead and goth listening to me right now, or someone who's not but is interested to know more about, feel and powerful who you are. Because the more different you are, the more power you have in your hands to show that you actually care. And for that, I am going to introduce my next song, which is from a group called Apex. And they are an Italian gothic band with the music Truth or Lie. What an amazing song. Truth or Lie by Hypax. Absolutely fantastic. And one that in fact, if I will tell you really the truth, guys, I could come up with the most famous gothic bands and metal bands out there, just Season of Mercy, etc. And also Osborne as well, Slayer, Metallica, Iron Man, etc. But I just like to give new bands a new chance because I think they deserve. Now, right now, I'm not going to talk much because I want you to listen. This is, I think, 3 or 2 years ago, which actually just a show by DW History and Culture that says why metalheads are happy people. If this really comes to what I just really said, you just listen what they really have to say.
Loud, chaotic, and aggressive. Heavy metal fans are angry, rowdy people, right? Wrong. Metalheads are actually some of the happiest and most peaceful people around. It's even scientifically proven that listening to heavy metal has a positive impact on mental health. How's that, you ask? Well, reason number 1 is that metalheads feel like they're part of one big community. And what better place to see that than in metal mecca Wacken. The small town in Schleswig-Holstein, northern Germany, is home to just 2,000 people, but in August every year metal fans from around the world flock to Wacken. Some 75,000 have been waiting for this moment. The opening of the so-called Promised Land.
We're really grateful that you've been so loyal to Wacken and to our crew, to our artists. So we're really proud that you're all here. And now it's open the gate!
Guys, because it's so emotional for me.
Look at that guy. Look at that guy. He's kissing the ground.
Yeah.
He's crying. Don't have any words.
These tough-looking metal fans aren't afraid to express their emotions as they share a moment of communal joy.
I've done other big festivals, but Wacken, that's really huge. People, everyone is friendly, everything is awesome, and feels like a family of 75,000 people. That's awesome.
Wacken is the promised land.
It's so friendly. Everyone's always really welcoming, and it's different from festivals in the UK. Festivals in the UK can be a bit erratic and a bit it's not very nice, really. And here it's always really warm.
We feel that there is truly harmony, there is friendship, there is brotherhood at the festival.
And how do the locals feel about a horde of partygoers invading their little town every year?
They're all nice people, even though they get a bit tipsy. It's nice to have them here, but it's also nice when they leave, too.
I always say these are the most lovable people you'll ever find. They all stick up for each other and help each other out. There are no brawls. It's just great.
Sounds like the metalheads have swept the locals off their feet and that they really are happier people. Why would heavy metal of all genres have such easygoing fans? Why not folk music or some other genre? Is there something special about metal? It might have to do with reason number 2. Metal provides an outlet for stress and anger.
I'm convinced that metal elicits an effect in us that the ancient Greeks knew about and used in Greek tragedies. It's this theory of catharsis. You can translate that very roughly as cleansing.
The theory of catharsis originated with Aristotle's theory of tragedy. The ancient Greeks held the view that the audience sympathizes with the protagonist in his fate to cleanse themselves of negative emotions, such as fear, anger, and grief.
The exciting thing about metal music is that it ventures into very dark places, more than other genres. On the one hand, you've got this very aggressive, often fast, bass-dominant music, which I think is unique to metal. On the other, there's very little other music whose lyrics speak of murder, manslaughter, death and the devil. That's why I think this music can elicit this cleansing effect.
Nico Rosa is one of the leading experts for positive psychology in Germany. Metal musicians affirm his theory of heavy metal's cleansing effect, such as the members of the Ukrainian band IT.
I can compare it with the people who study something like sport like box. Most of people who are boxing, they are very polite, gently people in their regular life because all their aggression they let at the trainings. So maybe the same thing happens with the rock music. You listen very powerful, aggressive sounds. After that, you don't need an aggression in your regular life. It's just you put it there, you canalize it in some kind of way. You don't let your aggression on your family, on your friends. You just listen to her music. You let all aggression there, and in your regular life, you're just a normal person. I guess it works like that.
Heavy metal then can function as a kind of safe space. Negative emotions can be let loose on stage or in the mosh pit, and it does look more fun and more liberating than a therapy session. Which brings us to reason number 3. Metal leads to feelings of joy and empowerment. A team of researchers at Macquarie University's Music Lab in Sydney ran a study to see if fans of death metal music had become desensitised to violence. The researchers' findings:
We found that in fact the bias is the same for fans and non-fans of violent music, which suggests that there is no desensitisation to violence among fans of death metal music. They're just as empathetic. They're just as sensitive to violent depictions. They care just as much about violence outside of the musical context.
To outsiders, heavy metal may well sound aggressive and intimidating, but from their study, the Australian research team concluded that when metal fans hear aggressive metal, they themselves are not feeling aggressive. On the contrary.
The fans are really only extracting the positive qualities of that music and transforming it into an empowering experience.
According to the study, metal actually makes people happy. But there's a catch. Metal primarily makes its own fans happy. To everyone else, it can indeed sound intimidating, which negates the positive effect. But don't worry, fans of other genres can experience the healing effects of their own music. Researchers in Montreal conducted a study in 2021 and found that music has a great effect on the brain's reward system. When we listen to our own favourite music, the same areas of the brain are activated as when we consume narcotics. To sum up, the power of music is great, and especially the power of heavy metal. The metalhead community sees itself as one big family. Everyone gets on, and whenever necessary, any aggression or other negative vibes can be headbanged into oblivion.
And now, to just to finish up, I'm going to present the next metal song, which is called Parkway Drive with Carry On.
Strength to return, return the breath you've stolen. Give me the means to reset, or on I'm broken again. Reflection of the blood sorrow. We're walking the darkest road with interest, come with regret. In a moment I lost, dying from the inside.
Wow, what a very powerful song of these guys. Drive Away. Drive Away. So now, I'm going to present you a short but Opal in the Sky that talks about, it's just a very mere curiosity about where, the devil horns, in a sense, came from. It's just a curiosity. Let's see, just a curiosity.
Who invented devil horns? Let's work our way back in time, starting with the 1980s. Ronnie James Dio was throwing that thing up everywhere like it owed him money. But even he denied being the creator of the infamous hand gesture. He said he got the idea from his grandmother, saying it was an Italian thing used to ward off the evil eye. Dio claims he just popularized it. If we go back further, it was actually Geezer Butler, bassist for Black Sabbath, who takes credit for showing Dio devil horns in the first place. Here's Geezer holding it up in a photo from 1969. But just 1 year earlier, we've got John Lennon sporting the horns in this 1968 photo shoot for Yellow Submarine. There's also that whole thing in 2017 where Gene Simmons was trying to trademark devil horns because he thought he invented it in the 70s. But that was debunked by the band Coven, who claimed they've been using it since 1967. Of course, the gesture has been used for centuries by many different religions and mythologies, but for the sole purpose of using it in the rock and roll metal community, I'm going to say the band Coven started it in 1967 and Dio popularized it in the 80s. Case closed. Don't.
Yes, that's right. This was actually a very interesting short, because if you think about it, the stuff that we actually use in the metal and metal community has been for a very long time. And just trying to go back, just can you imagine when the first time people just did the gesture for the first time. It was just rocking their heads. They just said, yeah, let's go. Let's just listen to this very aggressive song, which I feel so connected with, and I'm just so empowered. Can you just imagine that powerful feeling for the first time in their lives when this actually came out? It must be very fantastic at the time. Even for bands that were just starting and they just have, like nowadays, I imagine, that they have to play on very close places, like on bars, etc. It must be a very fantastic and amazing thing to do, And just to think that this stuff is being with us for a very, very long time, it just really shows how absolutely very powerful it is. And now I'm going to just show you another short, the last short for today, just guys to listen. It is, where did the metal scream come from? And again, it's by the Opal in the Sky, one of the shorts.
Where did screaming in metal music come from? We're going to travel all the way back to the year 900, when an Arab merchant visiting Denmark was quoted saying, "Never before have I heard uglier songs than those of the Vikings. The growling sound coming from their throats reminds me of dogs howling, only more untamed. If that's not the most metal thing, I don't know who your father is." Well, we can't pinpoint exactly when screaming was introduced in music, because it's been used in tribal music for centuries. We can, however, narrow its origins down in more modern music. Of course, we've got songs like Helter Skelter by the Beatles, and James Brown hitting those screeches in the 60s. But I think there was one man who was famous for his too scary for radio performances that blew people's hair back in the 50s. And that man was Screamin' Jay Hawkins. So thank you, Screaming Jay, for paving the way to normalizing screaming at people's faces on stage.
And that's pretty much it. How the scream of metal came to be. This is just an interesting, I don't know about you guys, when you listen, these just little curiosities about your favorite genre of music. How do you feel about that? It's just so fascinating to see how things actually started and never come from a place we will never know it come, actually, at all. And it's so really interesting because the way that actually progresses, then the bands take inspiration and then they implement it on their songs, and then the fans follow along and just say, this is just a blast I'm having. And that new experience that just with the songs and the music and the lyrics, it just really comes along and makes sense. In fact, I have tried, there's not try to understand because, some bands growl and saturate, Is there a specific technique of to do that? So you cannot just growl as you please. You have to know how to growl, which I found is really so fascinating. The fact that there is a specific technique, and I imagine it comes with the damages as well of your vocal cords because, growling very hard and how you listen to your favorite bands. They really have to probably be careful. And if I have to imagine as well, I'm not sure if I'm myself, just me trying to, you think about this, together, as their specific diet as well, what they actually might eat to try to make the vocal cords, healthy and, not to force too much to scream all the time and be, for the purpose of the song and the message, of course. And I just really like these very small infos because they are short. But there's a lot of education behind it. It just really shows that our singers and bands really care about their fans and care about their music. And they care about their art. Keep in mind, this is all about art and expressing yourself. And this is no different from the other. It just shows about who they really are and they want to do. And then, because it's all disconnected, we're just humans. We just want, to navigate life as much as we can and just be who we are without even masking, because I'm telling you, masking is not worth it. It's absolutely terrifying. And with that, my show is going to end with the next song of the Awakening. It is a South African guys. They were born in 1995 and still around actually touring. So thank you so much, guys, for being alive today. And see you next time. And where it goes, where shadow goes, by the Awakening.